The Starting Banjo's back with us once again, guys, because we are live here on the Corridor Cast.
Those are the two chords that Jake knows.
I know a third one. That's all you need, man. Three chords.
All you need.
That's more than I know. I'll give you that.
I'm here with Nico once again.
Hi, I'm Nico.
I'm here with Christian once again.
Here we are.
And, of course, the one and the only Mr. Ren Weichman.
Once again.
Once again. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Nice day out. I had all my windows open.
Yeah, I got my door open right now. There's a fly that just flew in here.
Yeah, lots of flies.
Yeah, that's been my issue with the heat is the flies are coming back.
Yeah.
Getting into my house.
The air conditioning's out in 3, so I've just been living it up, classic style.
Man. Dude, you got to get Oswaldo back there.
Yeah, I know, but it's been a little tough with the quarantine. Yeah.
Tell him it's urgent, man.
Oswaldo, I need you.
Listen, I know you're probably doing quarantine stuff, but listen. You gotta
come into my home.
Yeah, you got to come into my home and fix this because this is a real problem.
Yeah.
So, wow. So, what are you guys working on today?
Dominoes.
Dominoes. What does that mean?
Domino run.
Guess people will have to watch the Crew channel to find out what that means.
Yeah.
Pretty much today on that. It was just some camera tracking.
It's okay, Ren. You can reveal it on this channel because only the truest of the croutons come here.
Yeah, no, we're basically doing a video, kind of trying to make an impossible dominoes line of, you see like those big things of dominoes. They're really cool, but what if they did things that real dominoes can't do, like go up walls or be the size of buildings? So,
Nice.
Movie magic.
Another one of Ren's craziest domino effects.
Well, that's the thing. We're doing a Crew video, kind of testing the concept for it. It's in partnership with NVIDIA, but the idea is that we're kind of exploring the possibility of doing like an even bigger version of it for the actual Corridor Digital channel in that vein of like a mad scientist type video.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. I hope it works because I think that video would be fun to shoot, and obviously it'd perform really well, and it'd be a good new, I guess, novel experimentation with the effects. So, awesome.
Fun video.
Well, I'm hanging the Starting Banjo back up because we've begun.
Yeah.
Well, I guess do you want to talk about this other big news, Nico?
Yeah, I mean, on behalf of Jake, I'm announcing that Jake is moving to Texas.
Woo! What's up?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I know he spooked everybody last week saying Nico was leaving the studio. Hey guys, we're spooking you again. Jake's leaving the studio.
That's probably what the title of this podcast will be.
You're moving across town, whereas Jake's moving across states.
What does this mean? Hold
What does
on.
it mean?
What does this mean, guys?
Jake, are you quitting Corridor Digital?
Yeah,
No.
what does this mean, Jake? How does
my
it work?
goodness. No. So here's the thing. No, not going anywhere. At least not in terms of my presence as a creator within Corridor Digital. I am going somewhere physically, and that is to San Antonio. So there's a few reasons for that. But I am going to be back regularly to be in studio, to work out of the studio. And my new life is going to probably consist of spending 2 or so weeks in Texas and then spending a week or so in LA and doing that pretty much to infinity. Obviously we've been doing more stuff over there with Black Rifle Coffee. We've sort of fostered a relationship with those guys. They have access to so many filmmaking resources that it's kind of ridiculous. Just because of who what they've done, I guess, in lives prior, and then as Black Rifle has kind of expanded, it's just presented this opportunity with us where they're like, hey, we've been watching you guys. When they first came to us, they like Jared and Rich and Matt were like, well, obviously we knew Rich, but we didn't know Jared and Matt at the time. And turns out those guys had been watching our videos for like 10 years.
Yeah, those dudes are just like huge fans.
Yeah. And so, they'd seen everything that we'd done, and, they just, I guess what they wanted was a little bit of our expertise so that they can learn from us and we can learn from them. And there's just a lot of different avenues that we can go with them. So I'm going to go foster that. And also, it came down to having now a third kid on the way, which we announced this last time, right? Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Patreon. Uh-oh. I think I just breached more news.
Because we changed the whole website.
That's right. Yeah.
For your gender reveal.
Yeah, and then I'm have a third baby, so there's that. Moms right now.
Jake, your sense of dramatic pacing is a little off.
I know it's a little off right now, guys. I'm sorry. It's been a long week. It's been a long quarantine.
I gotta let you know, Jake's with Texas Hands, another kid. Okay, but see ya. subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah. So again, sounds crazy, but it's it's something that we've been thinking about and working towards here for quite some time, actually. And I'm just glad that that was part of that decision was like, hey, should we move the studio? Should we do this like as a company, or how should we try to foster this and arrange this? And I feel like after all of these years of being patient and visiting places and getting input from the team and getting everyone's sort of 2 cents and seeing how things evolved and being flexible to it, I feel like finally, with Nico coming out of Studio 3, us going up there as well, and me doing this move, I feel like it's kind of the best of all worlds. And it wouldn't have happened had we not been patient and had we not been I guess just it's such a monumental decision to be like, hey, I'm going to move to a different place, or we're going to move our company to a different place.
I don't think people realize just how in depth and how long our search for moving actually was. It was a year and a half. We looked at 3 different states.
Yeah.
It was an extensive search. Everyone at the company did a lot of soul searching. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it happened. And I'm glad, I feel like, although there were certain, there were certain people that were more willing to move or more interested in moving than others, at the same time, it required of everybody to do that soul searching. And that I feel like makes us better off going forward, because you've gone through that process now. It's not like, oh, why do I work here? Or why am I here at this job? Or why am I here in LA? Or why am I doing X, Y, and Z? You've now taken the mental energy to spend time on that, because maybe you were forced to, or maybe you were going to do it anyways, but regardless, it's been done. And so that, I guess, just opens us up to more good things going forward, because now it's like, okay, everybody that's here is here to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest thing, I feel like, as one of the partners, Nico, speak to this too, but is just making sure that everybody can continue to do that. I feel like that's the biggest challenge, just making sure that because Ren, for example, I mean, when we started working with you, so many years ago, it was 2012 or so,
over 8 years ago.
Yeah, and what you've done with us and what you've done on your own and with your most recent quote unquote Ren videos, I mean, it's been a journey in and of itself watching you evolve as a creator.
I feel like I've evolved.
You've evolved a ton. And the interesting thing is I don't see this physical move as anything but part of that process for me. And so, it can come off as a bit of a shock to be like, wait, you're doing what? But, you got to remember also in 2009, I put everything I owned into a car and drove out here to begin with.
That's the
So it's not that big of a for me to be like, yeah, I'm just going to keep evolving this way.
Did you find a house?
I did. Yeah. Yep. I found one and,
13 bedrooms, 14?
yeah, like 12. Yeah. 12 bedroom.
A soft mansion. Soft.
Yeah. Mansion is a loose term.
Yeah.
No. But it is nice for a large family because you can just get so much more out there in terms of space and stuff. And, with now a third baby on the way, plus Wendy's mom lives with us too. So I got a full house, man. And room for everybody now, which is nice because we certainly this house that I'm in now was great, but it's a great house. We had a ton of room here. I used to have an office, man. I used to have my own office.
You set up in your living room and I was like, don't you have a whole office in the back room? And I was just kind of like, oh, maybe he just wants to be out in the open. But I was curious of what happened back there.
Son, no, not anymore. Now my mother-in-law lives back there, dude.
Oh, okay. I thought she was upstairs. Yeah, I mean, that was a while.
She was. And now upstairs is Eliza's room.
Now they got Eliza and JJ. They got
and JJ doesn't have his own room.
Oh yeah,
yet.
He's in your room still, right?
Yeah, so he's moving into his own room when we move. So just as the family grew, we just needed more space. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with like all the move planning that we did at Corridor for the past 2 years, if not 3, like if you think back to when it started, it starts off you're 20-something kids in LA. And you're like, well, I like doing this. Do you like doing this? Yeah, I like doing this. Cool. Let's start doing it together.
Yeah.
Okay, we need some more help. Do you like doing this? I like doing this. Cool. You want to bring your computer in and we'll work together on something? Cool. And then things start growing and if you're committed to it and you want to make it happen, it happens. Like anything in life, it's not an instant overnight success. It's a long build. But what ends up happening is that you turn around, you look back and suddenly 5 years have passed, 8 years have passed. And you're like, whoa, what started as just hey, I like doing this, you like doing this, let's put our computers in the same room and keep doing it, is now turned into, hey, I've been here for longer than I was at college. I've been here for almost as long as I was in my hometown that I grew up in. Like,
hey man, I've been away from where I grew up longer than I grew up there.
Yeah,
almost
crazy.
Coming up on it.
I've almost lived in the studio here on Hunter Street longer than I lived in my house in Stillwater that I grew up in.
Yeah.
So I'm only like 3 years away from that time. But,
yeah.
So there was a point here where unless somebody takes a lot of time to do soul searching all the time, which I don't know if that's really our group outside of Clint. There wasn't really a moment here, I think, where people had stopped and been like, well, how long do I want to work here? What is my goal with this? Like, is this something I want to do? And what would that look like? What would the shape of that be? So the move was also a chance for us to do that and to be like, how do we want to make films? How do we want to work together here? Like, do we want to get out of LA and be doing a lot more personal kind of projects where it's just us, just the group doing our own thing? Life is easy, life is cheap, and, we're just going out in the woods and shooting videos. Do we want to try to make a, film industry blow up in another city that doesn't have it? Do we want to stay in LA and keep, playing this game here in the entertainment capital of the world? Which, entails a different pace of life as well. And I think, in that process, like I came to a lot of conclusions. Jake came to a lot of conclusions. Sam came to a lot of conclusions, but not just us. It's Ren, it's Christian, it's all the guys at Corridor had a chance to really think about this. And maybe it wasn't as big of a deal for like the guys that joined us like last year, like Dean and Matt. But for the rest of us, it's time for us to really consider like, hey, where are we at in life? And this thing that none of us quite thought would really turn into a career has turned into a long-term career. What does that mean? And what does that entail? And what do we need from that?
Right.
So, yeah, it's been interesting.
And it's been Well, and that's like you said, like it's not like we showed up one day and we're like, hey, do you want to do this for a career? You know, do you want to see if we can grow this into a functioning business? It's like, no, we're shooting videos. You know.
Yeah, you're thinking about next week's video. That's as far as you
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do remember the moment that I quit my law office.
What was that like? Did you
When
go
you
in and
were
like
working
flip a
double
table?
You're like,
Yeah,
your
basically.
dude's working out.
Well, you know,
when you stole like a bunch of stacks of paper, or a whole box of paper?
we still got them, baby. Don't worry. We still got, I mean, wait, maybe that was my
Gone
law
through
school.
all that paper yet?
No, because we never print anything. What do we print?
I mean, I feel like
I think actually, no, Christian, you did buy a box.
Yeah, we're buying. We're at the point where we're buying our paper now.
Okay, but that paper lasted us like a good 6 years.
Wow.
I
mean, yeah, we didn't even get a new functioning printer until I got back in or the full-time corridor.
Yep.
Like there wasn't even really a working printer when
I mean, kind of.
I first joined.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, dang, we finally got a new one.
It was jank rank.
I just
Yeah,
remember working on Sync, Jake.
What's
and
that?
You had like this old ass laptop and this printer that you carried around, and you had it in like the motorhome for Sync, and you were printing off like contracts and invoices and stuff like that. Like, and you're so stressed because you were late for law school, and you're like,
Oh my god, dude, that was such a rough time. I mean, looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have been that stressed, but it was my first time with all of that stuff. And like, you know, Sam and Nico and I were shooting videos, and then all of a sudden, Big Frame was like, "Hey, we got all this money for a web series. Do you want to do a web series?" And we're like, "Sure." We had never produced anything like that of that scale or anything. Just to give you a sense of that, it was 90 minutes. We had a script, kind of. We did not start
We
producing.
did half a script.
Yeah, we had half a script. We didn't start producing it until 2 weeks before the first shoot date. And we just assumed that would be enough time because we were working on our 2 week schedule for YouTube releases, and then just the next one came up, and it was like, instead of being minutes,
video, movie.
yeah. And that's basically how that one fit in there. And then there was this line producer that came from like traditional TV, and he just could not wrap his head around like how we did things, and it was very stressful working with him because he was always we had no trust, obviously, because we were these kids basically, and they were like, okay, here's a bunch of money, guys, don't mess it up, but also do it our way because we've done it this way and we didn't mess it up, so you need to do it this way because the probability of you messing it up. But the problem was they didn't have enough money for us to do it that way, and what we were trying to do creatively, like, you couldn't do it that way with that money. So I was constantly at odds with this guy. And it was like, not only was I at odds with that guy, I was producing this 90-minute thing for the first time. And, and I was still part-time in law school. So I would have to leave set every day at 5 to go to class. And then I'd have to go to class from like 5:36 to 9. And then
Get ready
put
for
the
next
call
shoot
sheet
day.
out and like prepare for the next day. And then literally like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. the next morning, like be back on set. And it was so, yeah. And I was, the whole time I was carrying around this freaking,
Printer.
Literally, you would
Printer.
carry it around.
Yep. I got that off eBay from some woman in like Winchester or like Seal Beach or something. I bought a couch, and I was buying this couch, and she was moving out, and I didn't have a printer, and I was like, "Hey, are you selling that printer?" And I bought it from her. The thing that I liked about that printer is that it had no firmware. You could plug it into any.
Plug it in and go.
That's why I lugged it around with me. Is because you could plug it into anything and it would print.
Wow. Man, you're telling me that we could be in like a golden era of printer technology if printer manufacturers weren't such dicks about it.
Yes. Why does a printer need firmware? It just doesn't. Just plug it in, recognize device, print.
So I'm curious,
I don't know.
Christian and Ren, we were talking about the move and the soul searching and all that kind of stuff. Where did you guys end up with your soul search?
That's a broad question.
Welcome to the Corridor Cast, where broad questions get sometimes broad answers, sometimes way too specific.
Yeah, I mean, I could start. I have a little bit more of a grasp on the broad question there. But yeah, obviously, when it was presented to us, it's like, yeah, basically, it's that moment. It's like, oh yeah, okay, we got to start thinking about this. This is like a real decision, and that kind of starts the whole soul searching process. It's like not just like, oh yeah, like am I, where do I want to move? It's like, you start thinking about, yeah, like you said, the company and what you want to do in the future, and you got to think about all the different connections. So so initially it was a little, I mean, to be honest, I didn't expect it. I don't know if there was whispers behind prior to that or anything, but the meeting when you, Sam, or Jake, Sam, and Nico called me into the room and told us about it, that was like the first time I heard about it. And I was like, oh shoot, like I had no idea this was coming. So it was like almost like initially it was like a little bit like of a freak out, because it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But then, yeah, like I kind of just trusted you guys in the process for a while, and I was open to it. I was, receptive to it right when I heard from it. So, I kind of from there was excited about just seeing the places first and kind of hearing more about the plan. And again, Ren said that was like a 1.5-year process. And by the end of it, me and Chelsea were pretty much ready to go. Like, obviously we didn't get into the details of anything, but we came to the conclusion that like, and there's a lot of factors for me too. So I'm from LA, from Southern California. My parents are 2 hours south of here. So that was a big kind of hurdle I initially had to get over. But yeah, by the end of it, we were, we saw it as a positive opportunity to, even if we were just going to take the, go there for the term amount or whatever. And we talked about, maybe a 3-year thing and then kind of renegotiate from there. We kind of saw it, at least for the minimum term of 3 years, it's just something that we were willing to do. I wouldn't say like we were all for it and I was, running around trying to convince everybody to move because it was something I really wanted to do, but it was like something that we saw as something that we can take as a positive, grow for a little bit. And, it was always kind of like, we can come back if we need to. So yeah, by the end of it, we were kind of excited about it, kind of saw the potential opportunities to save and figure out different things like that and grow personally in a new city. And obviously with the company, because I was excited to see where Corridor was going. And, especially for right now, I'm not planning to look anywhere else. So, so yeah, no, it was something I was willing to do. But at the same time, I would say there was a bit of almost like a relief when it ended up not happening, just for the fact of the things I told. I mean, I don't have to now look into, looking at a new place to live and the moving expenses and leaving my family. And, we've even talked about like when we have kids, it's like we want to be near family too. So it's like, how far out is that? And is that going to happen when we're out of state away from the families and stuff? Because her family's here too. So yeah, I mean, in a way there was a kind of a weight off the shoulders at the end, but we were willing to go with the company and kind of take the positives for what they were and grow from there and kind of, commit to it for that time being and see where it went from there. I don't know if the company did decide to move, if Texas would have been a long term or forever place for me ultimately, but we were going to take it in the short chunks from there at a time. But yeah, in a way, now that it's not officially happening, then I'm happy to stay here in my home state because this is home to me. So I'm not leaving home. So there's it's not like there's a huge,
it's not like you're here from somewhere else.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was definitely a process. The thought process and the discussions, I talked a lot with my parents too and other friends and family, and it was it became a whole topic of discussion and with everybody that was close to me in my life. So even all my LA group of friends, there was definitely a time when it was like, oh yeah, like dang, that sucks, you guys are going to move out of state, because they were ready for us to go. And that's just part of the relationship and stuff. But yeah, again, I think we would have been happy if we did move and we would have managed and kind of figured out how to and continue our personal growth in anywhere we go. So yeah, no, it was an interesting prospect. Again, that's kind of where I landed, but there's now that we're not going, I guess there's nothing really the action on to be able to move on,
I mean, has the fact they're not going, has it changed how you're approaching Los Angeles?
Absolutely. There's that too. Actually that's a whole logistical thing I didn't even think about. So when we got back from that, I don't know if it was the November Texas trip with BRCC, we were already in the process of moving, and it was so much to the point to where, like, I got back from Texas, Chelsea booked the place, and we were moving like the end of that week. But she did an amazing job at like making sure we had a 9-month lease, because we were like, okay, well, we might be moving to Texas at the time that you guys had told us we were going to go, and that's about 9 months from now. So she did all the work to like fit our lease that way, and the landlord ended up being cool with it, and we told him like, hey, there's a big chance that the company's moving and we need to go here. But I will say, it's like, we're now living in the best apartment I've probably lived in, other than the house that I lived with Jake in LA. This is like probably the best place I've lived in LA. And when we first moved in, we were like, well, it's 9 months. Let's not really build it out. We're not going to really invest too much into like, really settling in here if the plan is to move in 9 months. But yeah, no, never since the call was made to not go, then yeah, we're doing those same things, but here, kind of like, let's start settling in here, getting things we want, but also like, kind of like the last podcast, I've been now looking into just investments and saving my money in a different way, and just making my LA lifestyle work for, my future personal growth. So, and whether it's the investments or saving money or settling into the house here, we just started our herb garden. So we're going to start growing the long term,
Nice.
Things like that. So, it definitely adjusted the approach of just like, how we want to kind of keep planning for our future here now that it's here. We kind of know the place where it's going to happen for the foreseeable future. So now just kind of taking the steps to start moving towards it.
And that uncertainty can be difficult in and of itself. That's almost more difficult than actually, I guess, the prospect of like leaving somewhere and going to another is almost the uncertainty of what it brings or what it doesn't bring.
Totally. Yeah. And I would say the uncertainty of us also not knowing, that was the tough, not necessarily the certainty of when you get to the new place, but it was almost like also kind of that period of just kind of like, well, one, are we moving? And two, have they made a decision where? That whole kind of like period of uncertainty was definitely, like the hardest part for us to kind of really grasp, because then, it's like, I got some people on my end where my parents are like, yeah, you guys can make the decision when it comes there. Whereas like I have another group of friends that's like already seeing us as moved out of the state, and they're always like, oh, you make that decision. And it was like, well, I don't really know exactly. So that's where it's like, either of you guys could be right. I'm not really sure. We're just figuring it out. But, I definitely kept my loved ones in the loop the whole process, and it helped for sure. What about you, Ren?
Ditto. So for me, it was like, okay, so I come from a background of having moved a lot growing up. I've lived in Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma. I did middle school in Norway, high school in Texas and Vietnam, and college in Portland, and a little bit in Seattle. But
that was all just because Ren asked his parents to move to those places, and then they took him there.
Yeah, no, my dad's a geologist, so we worked a lot on like in the oil industry and whatnot. So it allowed us to move around a lot, which was really, really cool. I had a really blessed childhood in that regard. So I was coming from the perspective of, I don't mind moving. Like when I moved to LA, I literally just put everything in my car and just drove down here and then figured out what to do. It was like, I got to LA and I was like, wait, where am I going to stay? So the first night I stayed in the Whole Foods parking lot in Santa Monica. And I went to Santa Monica because that was the only place in LA that I knew about. So that's where I ended up that first night. And then shortly after that, I ended up with Fullscreen. I'm going on this random tangent, but basically Fullscreen was like a company of 10 employees at the time. And they let me sleep on their company couch for like 2 straight weeks before I found an apartment.
Oh my God.
I found an apartment pretty quickly, but it was like a process to
Dude, I was just joking this morning about how all the people that aren't from LA, like why there's so many homeless people in Santa Monica, because one of my made up totally irrelevant theories was that it's because people that come here that don't know anything about this city, all they've heard of is Santa Monica.
That could be here.
And they just go to Santa Monica and they're like, what do I do now? And you either like integrate into society or like you never leave and you end up there, which is kind of, there's some truth to that, but only in a joking manner.
Yeah, the second night I did stay in a hotel. I wasn't gonna stay in my car. No, the very first thing I did after getting down here and staying that first night was getting a public storage unit and just putting all my stuff in there. So then I was at least able to be like mobile and flexible. But yeah, so I guess that's just kind of a backstory on like me not minding moving that much. I've since lived in 2 more places. I've lived in 3 different places here in LA. Currently in Pasadena, and I love Pasadena. I've fallen in love with it. And so the start of this whole moving process, I was like, I don't know, I kind of like it here, but I'm open to moving to somewhere that's cheaper. But granted, that was only one half of the equation, because my wife Jenna is the second half, and she ended up getting a really, really nice job. And the complication with that is that she wouldn't be able to just laterally move to that same position in some other hospital. She had to work her way back up to that, probably starting at night shift all over again. She did that for years, then went to day shift for a year, and now she's running the entire floor. She's like the floor manager.
Floor boss.
Yeah, the charge nurse, patient flow coordinator, if you will. So it was, we had looked at a few different places. I guess we went to Minnesota and we looked at like Minneapolis and like a few different locations there. Then we went to Austin, looked at some places around there in San Antonio. And then we went to Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. And after all of that, after like a couple months, or like maybe just 1 or 2 months after that, on our Monday morning meeting, you guys decided Portland is it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move to Portland. And it was at that precise moment that I realized, okay, so before that though, up until this time, I've considered myself from Portland. That's where I went to college. Even though it was only for 4 years, that was the longest time I'd ever lived in any one location.
And it's your college years.
So I found I have a very like visceral connection to Portland. I loved it, and I'd love to move back. So when you guys decided we're moving to Portland, and I realized I didn't want to move, that was a big moment for me internally. I was like, that's odd. I don't want to go to the one place on earth I'd like to move to. And it's because I realized I'm not in a place in my life where I want to leave LA. You know, I don't have kids. I don't have other sort of like life responsibilities that kind of are, you know, needing a cheaper cost of living and whatnot. I really like Los Angeles though. And that was what I really kind of started realizing. Los Angeles is a beautiful city. There's so much to it in terms of like just being able to go out one-wheeling up to the top of a mountain that is 10 minutes away. Like literally I could drive for 10 minutes and then start one-wheeling up to the top of a mountain and have like the most epic view of all time. Now that you have your XR, Jake, we've got to do this ride very soon.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
And just like everything, there's so many like groups that are here, so many different types of cuisine and people that are here in LA. It's just such a big melting pot that you don't get in other cities like Portland or whatnot. I wouldn't be opposed to moving a little outside of LA. Now that, you know, especially because I have a car that drives itself. It's like that literally changes everything in my mentality about like how far away things are. It's kind of bizarre how much that literally just changes my perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, if I move like 30, 40 minutes east of here, I'm pretty much outside of LA, and downtown LA is an hour away.
Yeah.
But if that means I can actually get a really nice place for not too expensive, then that's I don't know, something I'll probably in the future think about. I'm not in a position to think about owning a house yet. I have too many other irresponsible financial decisions in my life.
Yeah, I'm working on that myself. Buying a house would be nice in the future.
And yeah, it kind of came down to like, all right, you guys are wanting to move, and I'm kind of wanting to not move. So I had to start thinking about what am I going to do. And I've since learned that Jenna was not going to move, regardless of what you guys decided.
Ice cold, dude. Ice cold.
I talking about, man, what if we moved? And she looked at me and she's like, I wasn't going to move. I wasn't going to move. I was like, oh. Granted, I think there's a huge asterisk there of she probably would have moved if it. But,
yeah, there's a lot of unknowns in that if it went the other way. So for sure. But.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we get the best of both worlds with all this because, we'll get some of the expansion, like, and some of the connections that we've been getting out there. While at the same time, it doesn't put anyone in a bad way where, you're like, your wife's not moving, or you haven't. I don't know. There's so many different issues,
different possibilities
arise from that. Yeah.
Well, then, yeah.
Now
so
it does affect us, like, in the way of our costs and things like that. But
Yeah.
like,
Well, it's like I kept finding myself thinking, can we just put this off one more year? I mean, there's the argument that, like, you're never gonna be ready for whatever it is that you need to be ready for. And I get that.
yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, just one more. I want to have like another year in LA.
Yeah.
And then like that year went by, and I was like, I want another year.
Yeah.
I want another one.
It's tough to get a grasp.
And like that combined with me realizing I didn't want to move to Portland, at least not yet, made me realize that I didn't want to leave LA. I think LA still has too many things to offer for me, both socially and professionally. And that was one of the big reasons why you guys decided to not move the company, is because when we started the search, Corridor was a very different company than it turned into at the beginning of this year. By the time we hit the beginning of this year.
Yeah. I mean, we've been at least, like, in passing discussing the idea for, God, I don't even know, like, since there was just like me, you, Sam, Nico, and Carmichael.
Yeah.
At least in passing. And then, and then Christian came on, and then Nick came on, and then, it's just, we've more than doubled in size. And so now all of a sudden it's not just about you anymore. It's not just about any one individual anymore. There's a whole team of people to consider, and everyone's got different lives, and everyone's got different asks and different things that are important to them, and all that stuff is really at the heart of why you try to work to find your favorite course of working in the first place. Is so that you can have all of these, you can have the things that are more important than that to you. And so just balancing that sometimes is that's why you can't just, like, wake up and be like, oh, we're going to do this. Or, I mean, you could, but it would be hasty and probably unwise.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Unwise.
Yeah. Well, so we got to that fateful point, after I redid all the soul searching, where, we were looking at, basically we had gone through the fall here of 2019, and, like, every other week, either some big name person was coming into the studio, or we were working with some big name person. Like, we worked with Will Smith for that quick deep fake joke for Gemini Man. We had the VFX supervisor come in from Ventures Endgame.
Endgame, what a digital.
Yeah. We had Snoop Dogg. We did a project with him.
We might potentially be doing something with Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that's right.
Clint and I have been discussing the idea. I think we've got a pretty good idea for that.
Nice.
We can talk about it after this.
But and I'm leaving so many different names off this list. We had a bunch of different stuntmen come in. We had all these other. What was that one guy's name? Ilram came in for Stuntman React.
Ilram, Eric, obviously.
Yep, Eric, and then, like, other companies are coming in while we were, like, for the other side, like, of the non-VFX React and Stuntman React. We had we did a thing with Unreal on, like, a little mini version of what they used for The Mandalorian. Anyways, the list goes on, and it was one of those things where it's like, that wasn't happening in 2018, and that wasn't happening in 2017. Like, in 2018 and 2017, it was just a couple friends making videos, and that's all it was. It was insular. We weren't really a big deal on YouTube anymore. We're getting like 200,000 views per video.
That's the crazy part about this, real quick. Corridor was a huge deal about, like, 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, we were a huge deal, man. We used to be.
No, we were the 80th most subscribed channel on the
channel.
Yeah, no, yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. And now most of our fans these days don't even know we existed before this year.
I don't
Yeah.
even know we
Pretty
have a
wild to
channel
think
called
about.
Corridor or something.
Yeah. But, thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, based on what had happened and like how much it had grown and like, just where we were as a company, at least I came to the conclusion that I didn't think the move was the right move anymore. And then came the really challenging part of having to face Jake and tell him that, Jake, all this work that you put in for the past 2 years and all these expectations that we have communicated, at the last second, I have to say, I'm sorry, but I don't want to do it anymore. So, but I think it's I think it's a testament to like how good partners, both Jake and Sam are, is that like, we could have this discussion and like, obviously emotions are involved, but like we've been around long enough now that like we can digest our emotions. We can talk about things and like, challenges don't come without emotions. Challenges are very rarely just like, yeah, whatever.
You want to land on the moon? Whatever.
I'll get over it. We'll
Sounds
get good.
Hey, one of your rocket crews died. Should we keep going? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But we talked about it and worked through our way to our conclusion of staying in LA is the right move. But Jake, as he told us, he was going to get out of Los Angeles. It was time for him to leave. And, we understand that there's a large component of this, which is your personal life and your work life, especially when it's art, are very tied together.
Yeah.
And, it's important that we figured out a way to support that and encourage things. And I think this quarantine has shown that just how much work we can do without having to be in the same room. And don't get me wrong, it's very like, everybody's like, well, why doesn't everybody just work from home? It's like, well, there's an undeniable value to all being in the same space. Let's not kid ourselves. Like maybe if you're really antisocial and you don't really talk to people at your job, it might feel like you can do all your work from home. That's cool. But especially at Corridor, there's a lot of value to being in the same space. But that's it.
Not to mention there's entire industries that can't be done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But there's also a lot of work we can do when we're not in the same space. And, so it kind of brought us to this point where it's like, all right, well, let's move on to this, this plan B, which is you continue pursuing the things that you want to pursue in life, and we'll figure out how to work remotely. But also, Austin, Texas isn't that far away from Los Angeles. And, the thing that was up in the air was whether or not we would have Studio 3 by the time Jake had moved. When I say we, I mean as in Corridor would have Studio 3, because I live in Studio 3, which in the building there's Studio 4, which is Corridor, and Studio 3, which is my place, which used to be Corridor.
Yeah, if you go back and look at the behind the scenes videos from like 2013, that's Nico's apartment.
Drive to Corridor Group is next week. We're doing a special 10-year video
Yeah.
on that studio.
Yeah, we'll do a walkthrough, like looking at all the old spots where cool things happen, maybe some cool locations around the studio, and a little retrospective on 10 years of Corridor, which by the way, like maybe this is the transition point here, but I remember like, so we'll probably cover this in the video, but like, I remember how it all started with like Freddie and David Welch going up to the Olympics in Vancouver in 2010 and meeting Daystorm because they were doing a video thing for Samsung. And Daystorm was the only, like he's the only guy anybody knew who was doing YouTube. He was partnered at the time. He told Freddie to get into it. Brandon and Freddie had a viral video go viral, mainly because at the time, the people that worked at YouTube that curated the front page of youtube.com liked one of their videos and put it there for a couple of weeks and forgot about it or something like that.
Isn't that like
So I ended up-
or something?
Is that
What's
the
that?
Art video?
Guitar Hero video?
No, this is the Guitar Hero video.
Okay, yeah.
Playing
Very
Flames while on a bike. Was it that one?
no, it's literally just Freddie playing Guitar Hero.
Oh, that when he was like
Guitar
lying on his
Hero.
back, like scooting around the living room.
Maybe it's like really old. Freddie W.
No,
Guitar.
I think the one of him spinning on the ground is a different one I've done later.
It's called Guitar Hero YYZ. Is the name of the video. It has 9.2 million views. And it's just, some dude in his apartment. Yeah, it starts with him on the dirt bike being like, I'm a badass and watch me play Guitar Hero. And then, this kind of nerdy kid goes and plays a really good job at Guitar Hero. And yeah.
Call it
Call it a day.
Call it a viral hit.
Yeah, and so a lot of people saw that, and Freddie and Brandon saw some potential. But that was a few years before they started their YouTube channel. That was like a solid 3 or 4 years before they actually started their channel. I remember sitting
a singular video on YouTube and
just for fun, and got views and all that stuff. But like, I remember sitting outside on the street in the bed of Kevin Klauber's pickup truck. And Kevin Klauber's he edited a bunch of stuff like Nine Inch Nails and Smashing Pumpkins back in the day. He's a really talented editor. He's won awards. And he had a pickup truck that was like purple with like flames painted on it. And he's the only friend that had a pickup truck. So anytime people needed to move, they had to borrow his truck. But I remember sitting in the bed of the truck with Brandon and Freddie, because we had been working on Dark Island, the movie that we shot up in Vancouver at the time. And Freddie was like, so I'm gonna be trying this YouTube thing. I learned a lot about it when I was up in Vancouver for the Olympics. And yeah, I'm gonna kick that off, because we were all working on the kind of the same stuff under the same roof. And we're like, okay, cool. And Sam and I were still doing our own thing. We were doing freelance visual effects. And I remember that conversation and kind of thinking like, that'd be cool to try. And then like, if we get into it, we'll probably do it for a couple of years before, ideally it leads to us making a movie or something like that. And man, here we are 10 years later. It's crazy. Like,
we've been coming to the same party for 10 years. No way.
Yeah. That little bit of like, I guess it'll lead to us making a movie. It did happen, but then we just came back to YouTube afterwards. Like that end all be all of like, oh, we'll make a movie and then that's the end. Like, it's like, no, you keep
that's
making
not
stuff.
How life works though either.
Yeah.
It's not like
you just keep doing it.
Yeah. There's always that phrase, especially with Los Angeles, and when you've made it.
Yeah.
You made it like that. But the thing is that there is no point at which
you make it.
Yeah. It's not like you cross the threshold and then all of a sudden you're a fucking.
I'm in the Made It Club.
Yeah. Like
I did have a threshold for making it, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's always a personal
mind.
thing. It's a personal
Oh, I made it, Jake. You want to know what my threshold was?
Okay, what was it?
Well, when did you?
Well, actually, I had two.
When was I could afford a banjo?
How long ago did you make this threshold?
I made it in like 20. When did we do the collaboration with Epic Mealtime? That's when I made it. So it didn't have anything to do with Epic Mealtime, but
it was like
I
fall of
thought you were
2011.
doing the collaboration.
No, it was like 2013.
Time was your making
the first one where they came by.
That was like when they collabed with us specifically on the Corridor channel.
Wasn't that when you guys like snorted hamburgers?
Yeah,
we put Harley's face on a bunch of stuff. When we replaced everybody's face with Harley's face.
No, but we did put unlimited glasses on Muscle's glasses. Anyways,
okay,
it was a very simple threshold, right? So at Smart and Final, which is kind of like a mini version of Costco, you don't need a membership.
Oh,
they have this extra large pack of bacon.
Bacon,
and it's like
the leftovers.
Well, no, they have the bacon ends, but they also have just like normal bacon strips, but it's like a 3-pound pack, or maybe it's bigger. It's like $30, right? Bacon's really good. I was really poor. Like there's a point in time when working on Dark Island.
Poor.
Like, literally, all you'd eat is rice and beans out of a giant bean can. And like all of us, like me, Sam, Brandon, Freddie, we'd put rice in a tortilla and beans, and we'd eat that, and that'd be our lunch and our dinner. Like, we didn't have very much money because we weren't working. We were working on Dark Island, so like I was entirely on my savings. This is coming out of college. I didn't have a lot of savings.
Right.
So, anyways, so I remember going to Smart and Final, and I'd be getting groceries, and I saw that, and I thought to myself very clearly, when I can buy that pack of bacon, I'll have made it. I guess I have a very low threshold for making it. Anyways, we filmed that episode, and of course, those guys threw a bunch of those giant packs of bacon in the cart, and I know I didn't buy it; they did. But at the same time, the fact that there was multiple packs of that specific pack of bacon
associated to me.
Yeah, and it tied in with this collab with one of the biggest YouTube names, which meant our channel was becoming legitimate, and like, that was the threshold of making it. It's like when that pack of bacon ended up back at my studio and being used in a video, it's like I knew that we were okay. I knew that we had it figured out from that point on.
That's great. I love it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. That's kind of what you need to do, though. Like you kind of need to set those mini goals.
Yeah.
And
My other definition, my other thing of making it, I'll keep this one really quick. It's very simple. Is my definition of being famous was having somebody know my name without me knowing theirs. Like somebody who knew me and I'd never seen them before. Anyways, that happened really quick. That happened in the first week of college. I was like, I saw one of your videos on the Allen TV forum. I was like, oh, cool. It's like, are you Nico? I'm like, yeah. Who are you? It's like, oh, I'm Josh. Oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Josh.
He just went, made it.
Made it.
Made it.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either Josh or Yo. I can't remember which one. One of those guys.
Not Josh Davies, right?
What's that?
Not Josh Davies, right?
No.
College, right?
Yeah. Josh sung in our band for a little bit. Yep.
You still didn't know his name. Who's the guy singing?
No, I can't remember who was the guy that had mentioned, oh yeah, I saw your video. Yeah, it's one of those two. But anyways. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that third trip would be different for anybody. Like, making it to one person is completely different than somebody else making it. Making it could be a family and a house for somebody, whereas, somebody could be like, I want to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
So it's a personal journey on that end.
An Oscar would be nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure. It's like that.
We got enough streamings.
But then you get that Oscar, and it's like, oh, I'm done. No, you're like,
Yeah, exactly. It's not like
it's not like, well, okay, I made it. I'm
well,
done. I'm never gonna do this again.
I mean, here's the Oscar, so
Yeah, I got it.
can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Still got to eat. Still
Yeah.
got to pay your bills and all that good stuff.
Yeah, plus you've committed your entire life to get that
And
Oscar.
then get that little golden trophy. It's like, what, you're just gonna walk away from it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done with the industry. I got my Oscar. I'm gonna go
Start over. I guess there are people that have done that and do that.
I'm sure.
But I don't think I'm one of them.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
There's enough variety in the world of corridor digital to keep.
Yeah.
It's basically a new career every year.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
That is probably my most favorite part about the stuff that we do. It's just like nothing's mundane, or it's like obviously you have tasks that can get like tedious, but nothing ever really feels the
on
same.
occasion.
Yeah, like obviously there's admin stuff and paperwork stuff, but like other than that, it's like nothing's really ever the same thing every day that we do. And that's the best part. I mean, that's
At least year to year, it certainly changes.
Well, I've started realizing I get like cabin fever if I work on the same project for too long. Like if I'm still cranking on the same project for like more than a month, I'm like, oh God. I don't like
Bosstown Dynamics too.
That one wasn't that bad, but that was approaching that point. The worst one was anime self-driving cars.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a long
That was
one
like
making.
that was like 3 months of working on that video.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of issues along the way working on it. It was frustrating. Sam had a baby, so he like pieced out for a month.
Well, speaking of some blockbusters, some corridor blockbusters, what are we gonna do next, boys? Are we gonna do another Bosstown?
Yes.
Are we
It's coming.
Is that coming?
We got the Bosstown idea,
summer?
and I've got a Bosstown idea.
You monsters, very close. Tactical is close. We got this world's biggest domino sequence coming out
Ooh.
at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Actually, that might be
Turn that into the actual corridor video for sure
Yeah.
soon. Especially not all this testing is going into it.
I think that would be a good video too.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
those 4 wacky boys with the cell phone
specific-
chasing this
Yeah.
domino.
Well, I think if we were to do this again, we'd probably want to shoot it on a GoPro rather than a cell phone.
That feel of just captured right there in real time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, something about that phone look. I know we have to mess with the settings though to make the tracking easy.
I mean, GoPro would probably give you that feel, right?
It would, but there's the benefit of like the nice audio and the, I don't know.
We'll get into that one.
Cameras move differently,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's the journey of that time we almost moved our entire company. You heard it here first. And hey, what do you think of these socks?
Oh,
What?
those
Do you
are-
like these, Brad?
I'm all
this
for
out, dude.
designy socks. So
Emergency green screen socks.
Oh my God.
key out your feet if you need to key out your feet. Boom. Oh, that's awesome.
Classy.
Yeah.
Is that a
just
mocap sock
and then
that
the
I see
mocap
there?
sock, son.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then of course, if you just need tracking on your foot only,
We
get a
should make a
mocap.
tie. We should make a mocap tie.
Oh man!
Oh, there it is. Write it down.
Ah!
I would wear that yellow design of a tie corridor
Jeez,
too.
I'm digging.
Yeah, I'd wear that as a tie.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we should make this into a tie too. We should make
So
all
when
these.
we go to all these YouTube events here in LA, we're gonna be dressed up to the nines.
I want a mocap tie so badly. I didn't realize how much I wanted one until you said that.
I didn't realize how much I wanted one until I said it too. I would make a point of wearing suits to work. We should have a formal
Yay.
Friday, just like Jared and Christian.
Carmichael, we're
Christian,
doing that.
Carmichael used to do.
Yay! We need. If you're
Yeah, it just has
listening,
to be it has to be sponsored by Core or Digital.store.
you heard it.
Friday or that.
Heard it here. Yeah, just imagine that, boys. Right on the knot.
When's
Yeah.
the big hoodie, the mocap hoodie coming out?
Soon, very soon. In fact, if you guys are members of our website, you will find out there first. You will also get 15% off. I don't have an exact date. It will probably be in June though. And it's going to not just be a mocap hoodie. Oh, it's going to be so much more than that.
Be a big drop.
Yeah. Well, we're also going to do some of them this month. So there's some, probably in 2 weeks, there's going to be a bunch of new stuff
New
and
items.
the end of restocks, stuff that's been out of stock for a long time that people have been asking for. So get ready.
You know, speaking of the website,
Yeah.
so anybody who's listened to the podcast this far,
Yeah.
you are in a very, very small select group of people that enjoy the content that we make. So to you listening right now, I want to
Truly
speak to
enjoy it.
So we have our website, watchcorridor.com, eventually corridordigital.com now.
It is
Actually,
Corridor
right
Digital.
now,
Okay.
CorridorDigital.com.
All right, so it's corridordigital.com, and it's right now it's becoming what we have created, and rather what Jake and Scott have created is a website that it's all things Corridor. It's all our videos from all our channels, ad free, plus discount on any merch in the merch store, plus a monthly hangout, plus this cool new crowdfunding system where you don't have to put any money into it, but basically just through your subscription, you get Corridor bucks, as I don't know what we're calling it yet.
Corridor coins.
We haven't, so for everyone, we haven't rolled this out yet. This is still,
Yeah, so if you already signed up
coming.
on the site, it's
we're working on the designs for it literally right now.
But basically, with each month, you get like a certain number of points, and you get to pledge those points to a project. And basically, what you're saying is, I want you to take my subscription for that month. So I believe it's $3.99 a month, Jake?
$3.99.
Yep. Unless
you-
you
I
buy
want
for a year and then it's cheaper. But yeah.
Yeah, so I want you to take my $3.99. Of course, there's some hosting fees and stuff like that come out of that. But whatever's left over, I want you to put it as a budget into this project. So imagine if Netflix, instead of just putting things out, hoping that you'd like it, would ask you like, what would you like to fund with your subscription? You'd be like, I want that. And then if you and enough other people did that at the same time, it would get made. That's something we wanted to bring to this website because nobody else has done that yet. We think it can be fresh. But anyways, I digress. Where I'm going with all this is that the site is up. Everything but that whole pledge system or the point system is in there. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you haven't checked it out, please go check out the site. If you subscribed, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you have not subscribed and you don't want to subscribe, I would love if you could leave a comment, maybe on the YouTube version of this podcast, and just tell us like, what would you look for that would make you want to sign up for a site like this? What would it be? What would you want to see in something like this? What would be features that you would need to see? There's also an app that you can get on your phone, iOS or Android as well, if you want to watch Corridor videos there.
Yep.
So yeah, we want to have the site launched. We want it to be a platform that frees us up from YouTube a little bit. We love YouTube; it's great, but you never know when ads are going to just stop for some reason. It's not like we have now an entire collection of families at this point living off this YouTube channel, and we have no control over YouTube. So it's a little scary. But we love making videos. I know there's a lot of people out there who love watching those videos, and we want a direct way to connect with those people. You, for example, who's listening to this podcast right now.
Well, not only that, but also if you think about the extreme disparity in value when it comes to what a low cost subscription can allow to be made versus what watching videos on YouTube can be allowed to be made. It's the equivalent. If somebody, even just on Patreon, if somebody gives us one Patreon buck, that is like going out and sitting in front of your computer and watching over 1,000 corridor videos.
Yeah, in terms of the value that we get.
In terms of the value, yeah. So what does that allow us to do, right? Now all of a sudden, what you can afford per minute is totally different. And now, yes, there's less people. I don't expect 10 million people to subscribe to a website. Like, obviously, that would be phenomenal. We could literally
be one of the big media companies in the United States if that were to happen.
Maybe. But anyway, like just that cost is so there's such a difference there that all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we can create things that the core audience has been asking for years, like more D&D content. We could pair it with live action stuff. We could do a tutorial series that people keep asking us for. Like, hey, why don't you guys do? Because there is a section of the people that watch our videos who are like, hey, it'd be great is if you guys actually did true tutorials on how to do things. Now, obviously, there's a ton of resources for that. But one thing that now all of a sudden becomes affordable that people who might want to subscribe to the website can afford and that we can afford to make is that. And $3.99 a month for tutorial series is a lot cheaper than most, so there's a value that's given on that side. It introduces this whole different scale of flexibility that literally just doesn't exist on YouTube. Because the whole game on YouTube is like, well, how does it fit within like these parameters? It's got to appeal to a general audience. It's got to be relatable to something in the cultural zeitgeist. It's got to be, easy to produce at this amount, and then we have to be able to release it around this amount of frequency. And obviously, those are guidelines. There's no hard and fast rules. But man, like that only allows you to make X, Y, and Z. It's like,
yeah.
What do you do? Enjoy this sort of inside baseball talk. Like, do our listeners actually are interested in this?
I mean, listen, we're an hour into this, Ren. So if you're still here and you're listening, you're just getting it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the comparison I think really drives it home. If 1,000 people subscribe on the website, if 1,000 people are on the website and they subscribe, that's equivalent to getting 1 million views on video on YouTube right now.
Right. Yeah.
So 1 million people watching VFX artists react.
Insane.
It's the same thing as just 1,000 people supporting us on the website. So you can literally make a video series that 1,000 people want to watch, and it is just as affordable for our company as a video series that only 1 million people watch on YouTube. So it's like that's just how, I guess, devalued your view is on YouTube, and just like how much the ad rates are. But it also goes to show that you can make content that really serves a demographic, on a website. So, good example, this podcast gets a couple thousand listens. And I at least we assume that those of you who are listening to the podcast are, the tried and true diehard corridor fans and people that like our content, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you like listening to us talk and we talk about interesting things. Who knows? But if, this entire podcast, I guess, listening group, this audience, like if everybody here subscribed to the website, that would be the equivalent of all of our views and all of our ad revenue
ever combined.
Yeah, and that's only a couple thousand people, So anyways, if you want to go check out the website, I'd really appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to the website, I really appreciate it. Obviously, we all would. That'd be super cool. But most importantly, I just want to hear people's thoughts, What would you want to see in order to subscribe? What would you be expecting from a site like this? Or have you just simply not known it's existed and you go and check it out and you're like, hey, this is great. This is exactly what I want. So yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts. And if you think it's worthwhile to subscribe, go for it. It's still in beta right now. Obviously we're still working on it. So you'd be in early. But another funny thing is if you literally buy 2 items in the store, that 15% discount will basically pay for your membership for the year to the website. So if you're thinking to buy more than 2 merch items in the entire year, consider subscribing. You'll save money.
If you've already bought 3 merch items, you should be subscribed because you not being subscribed.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
there you have it.
Well,
CorridorDigital.com.
It's a very cute dog, Ren.
He's our little Oreo cookie.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
loves to bark at anything and everything.
yeah, your other one tried to bite. Your other one tried to bite me the last time I came over.
All right,
Your
guys.
dog tried to
Well,
bite my foot.
another one in the books.
All right, cool. Good podcast, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you happen to go check out our site, thank you so much. I look forward to your thoughts and impressions in the comments of the YouTube video for this podcast. And if you happen to subscribe, even more, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a wild adventure. We'll see where it takes us.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
So long, everybody.
See ya.
Later.
Ah.